Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Santosh Kumar from Danfoss Middle East, North Africa. First of all, a warm welcome to each one of you for the first webinar on Coolselector application today. I really appreciate your time and participation for our session today. We still have a lot of attendees who are still logging in, so I believe the numbers will ramp up shortly. But before we get on with today's session, I sincerely believe that hope everyone with you and your families are safe amongst this COVID situation, and our just best wishes to each one of you. Before we get on today on the session, just some few practicalities. This is our first webinar that we are doing in the region, so we are also pretty new to this, and then so there are certain practicalities that we need to follow, and I just hope everybody will have a good session today. So by default, I believe everybody is connected to your laptops or phones. So if you're on phones, then suggest to use some headsets for a better clarity. Everybody would be muted by default in order to avoid too much of disturbances on the conversation. There is a question tab on the right hand side on your panel, which you can see, where if you have any questions during the sessions, you can still just keep typing your questions, and by the end of the session, we will take up all your questions and we will try to address them. And just for your information, this whole webinar is recorded. So at the end of it, we'll be able to share the recordings. So in case you have to, keep track of what was discussed. And at the end of the survey, we will have a short end of the session. We'll have a short survey which will be shared with you. So please, before you log out, ensure to give your feedback about the session. Okay, and then that's it. So I hope from today we have Carlo, our technical manager for Middle East and North Africa, who is going to do the session, and I hope you will enjoy it. And Carlo, over to you.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Coolselector webinar. Before I begin, we want you to know that this is our first opportunity to hold a session for all of you on a single webinar. In this session, if you have any questions throughout, please don't hesitate to write in the chat box and we will follow up later. Also, we have prepared feedback at the end of the sessions, and if any further comments, also, please don't hesitate to contact my colleague Santos, and he will be happy to answer you. Now, Coolselector, we will learn about basic intermediate training sessions. An introduction of Coolselector is a very basic and briefly. Coolselector and initial settings and user interface in the main structure, the system and application types that you will get recognized, the growing continuously that available in Coolselector, followed by various refrigerants versus components overview, product calculations and selections. We will discuss that later, the details of the predefined components that we needed for the calculation and selections, how to create our projects and reports from made the calculations in selections, then how to customize Coolselector for your own convenience use Coolselector in your daily routine to prepare yourselves. The last, informations and download link to install Coolselector in your desktop, and also online versions of Coolselector which allow users running their iPad as an example or similar to start up Coolselector to work with that. Also, in this link there are some list of available trainings that are already done materials, and training, and so on. It's really very useful site to look on to stay updated and informed to everyone. So when you're downloading the Coolselector as a first time, you will have this prompt welcome page where you can set up which country you are in now or present. Choose the language you want in your practice. Then next, the units, the international units, it's by default. And a variation of also units are also available. It could be American, SI units. For example, SI units, a capacity in kilowatt instead of watt, pressure in bar instead of Pascal, temperature degrees Celsius instead of Kelvin. Furthermore, as you can see here, the applications are split into industrial and commercial, but right now it's all applications. What does that means? When you're selecting a commercial, you can squeeze and reducing the information in the user interface. That will more focus to commercial rather than the industrial, and that we will see later. Also, allows you here to have auto update by ticking on the box here. So okay, so far setup is pretty easy. So like I said,
Carlo, before
yeah.
you start, I just have a small poll that we would like to do before we get started. So everybody, you can look onto your screen. There will be a short poll, and I would like to have your feedback on that, please.
So let me know when I continue.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so everyone can see it, so we can continue.
No, hold on, Carlo.
I'll wait for you.
Good. So I think at least we have got 50% of response, and it's pretty good. We can see that almost once in a week people are using Coolselector. So I believe most of them are using it quite frequent. That's good. Thank you. We'll come back with something more interesting. Over to you, Carlo.
Okay. So like I said in previous slides, a brief introductions of the predefined AC air conditionings, refrigeration, basic line components that we need later to do the calculations and selections. So introductions, solenoid valve AVR type, ball valves JBC types, sight glasses SGP. So these are the typical selections conditions that we needed in Coolselector for this line of components. Selected lines in the air conditioning, either air conditioning or refrigeration circuit, the type of refrigerant, input operating conditions like cooling capacities, then select the nominal sizes, could be by SI, American, and the rest or other familiar units. Then go to the datasheet of code number selections, select inlet outlet connections, type and sizes, and the packaging type, etc. Hold on, I move to the Cool Selector. Everyone can see the screen? Santos, can you see my screen? Good. So if you
Yes,
go through the setup, you will get this interface here. And here you will see a group of functionalities, starting with the bulb and line components. And next is components in series, commercial applications, industrial applications, compressor and condensing units, electronic controls, and last is sensor and switches. And there's no restriction of applications, either commercial and industrial. So it started to access with the bulb and line components. As you know, we have a wide range of components. As you can see, sometimes we use not only one functionality, but different functionalities. As we have varieties of product naming and so on, but we must decide to go for simplicity functions. What does that mean? Simplify the access to the products if you're going to calculate a certain products, because allows to some users are not familiar with our nomenclature to get immediately to a component that fits their needs. So we know we want to have a control and regulating bulbs here, but we just click on the related buttons here, and we get there and start up and select the lines in the refrigeration system, either suctions, liquid, discharge, and the possible bulbs that you wish to select and provide more detailed informations. Actually, there's a lot of other information that you can go through it, like thermostatic expansion bulbs, solenoid bulbs, stop and shut-off bulbs, filter dryers, and so on. And even the good thing here, you can also make your design of your piping. So about calculating the velocity, calculating the pressure drop. So again, you just click the buttons, then you can get easily access for individual calculations and selections. And the same principle as control regulating bulbs, and it's quite easy and reducing complexity for the interface to calculate and select. So next functionalities, sorry, forgot to, sorry guys. So next functionalities, the components in series. Here we have the possibilities to calculate and connect bulbs and line components in series at different system circuit, commercial and industrial. Start to select the dry. You can see here, system dry, and the line, which is typically for commercial applications, set up by selecting the line, suctions, discharge, and liquid that you wish to select the components in series. Others set up the pump system and gravity for both industrial applications, where you can calculate the components in series as well. Also, for both system circuit are prepared for hot gas defrost, which is often used as a default setup and where you're able to select the required components. And here, I focus to most low ambient temperature. As you know, the transcritical CO2 system is supported here, and you can just go in selecting the line you want to calculate the required component. Additional lines here, we started the economizer for industrial application, and it's not prepared yet for commercial application. But here the economizer allowing higher efficiency to compressors, also in low temperature applications. Next is the commercial applications. So in these applications, we have added the cold room applications, which will guide you to calculate the heat load of a single cold room. And then finally, you select the condensing units, and all the components required are there, such as thermostatic expansion valves, solenoid valves, filter dryers, sight glasses, and so on. And even you can also do the pipe dimensioning and to an extension of adding plug and play control and electronic devices if you need to. And other expansion might continue on the next release for this year. So here the other thing is the retrofit tool. This is basically an information about
Hello,
two
Carlo.
different refrigerant. Yeah,
Carlo, we lost your voice.
you lost my voice.
Hello, Carlo.
Yeah, yeah. Now can you hear me? Yes, Santosh? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me, Santosh? Hello? Hello?
Lost you, Carlo. We lost your voice.
Now it's okay?
Yeah, no, it's
Oh,
okay.
sorry,
Please repeat.
sorry.
Yeah.
So we stop in retrofit tool. What does that mean? This is basically the information about two different refrigerant properties, comparing the thermodynamic values and aspects. For example, an existing system with the R22 and retrofit with R404A as alternative. You can see all the line components and compressor, piping design, a simplified model in the system, indicates both refrigerants. If you get different results or it will be okay, then keep it existing line components with the same size, or do I need to consider different size like expansion valve? Basically, it's a purely thermodynamic. Next, the industrial applications. We have here the evaporator valve station setup. So basically, you're able to calculate the whole valve stations, which is we have today the ICF manifold valve, which is a complete assembly of defrost, stop, drain, feeding valve, and etc. You can also do the simulations defrost scenario. By that, you can optimize the valve sizing at the end. Next is the echo damper solution. For the screw compressor use in industrial applications, we provide the special setup with these solutions consisting of the ICD echo damper for pulsations and the ICC as a check valve, and here the ICS as the actuator valve, and also can be sized and selected here. And we have a useful that provide the links here to the application handbook, components and controls catalogs, spare parts and accessories catalog that's related to industrial. Next is the compressor and condensing unit functionalities. And here you're able to select the compressors. I have today the peaks and the speed, and from small range fractional compressors, medium, large, uh, and both scrolls and refrigerating technology for both air conditioning and refrigeration applications. And moving to the condensing units, we can also select here some ranges for our Optima platform, Optima Plus, Optima Slim for refrigeration applications. Next, functionalities we call the electronic controls. As you can see here, we have the we can also select the complete range of case controllers. If you go enter on this, you will see such the EKC, AKC, and also including the new launch of the AKCC 55, which is a new superheat controller that we use today for supermarket applications. You can access this via Bluetooth through your smartphone, and you can do the changing of the settings of that controller, which serves to any case control, any case or cabinets. Next is the pack controllers. We have a variety of controllers here that's ranging also from the small, medium, and large pack controllers that you can able to manage up to 16 compressors. Maximum is possible. Then next is the superheat controllers. It is actually a dedicated superheat controller for package units and air conditioning applications. And this use most of our OEM customers today. And moreover, also as a dedicated superheat controller for water heat chiller applications. Last, the monitoring system manager, we call it the SM800 range. This is also including the newly user interface touchscreen that it's going to be launched soon in a couple of months. Okay, and this, of course, this system manager, it can monitor and control up to 120 generic controllers. So I would say today, with almost all the standard protocol that you're able to connect both locally and remotely. And it has also a web browser functionalities, and as well as you can access to your smartphone as your service apps. Then last functionalities, we call it sensor and switches. Of course, here no need to calculate the performance, but it really guides you through the selection of the best sensors or switches that you require. And here you provide you a variety of solutions and functionalities. So by these groupings, you try to simplify and guide you through all the components, and here with detailed informations. And before we go to the calculations and selections that we have predefined LAN components earlier, we have here the file menu bar. This really allows you to open a new project, open project, recent projects, to save as a project, as, and so on. What this really means on this, as you know, if you work from your office, applications like Word, Excel, so basically it's the same way you can handle the call selector. And the file you can save in your desktop or other machine. So open the projects. Also, you can open more selector at the same time. Here you can see the call selector. You can open as much as you like, and you can do differentiations, calculations, and directly compare next to each other. Regarding recent projects are also listed here on the right side of the screen, and you can access directly to finish calculations, chooses that allows you a high degree of flexibility in communication as well. Also, interesting here that this one, you can share here by save and send the selection file that you have done, and send it to your colleagues, customers, or anyone around the globe, whoever installed the cool selector in their machines, and they can receive it, the file, and they can open up. And one more advantage in that, the unit and the language, the settings on their machines of the receiver of the file will automatically be loaded, so they can work on their unit system setup language. So it's really simple of all differences to deal with is easily. Next tab called options. This is allow you to change your preference, such as the applications. Here you can go after you predefine some things and change it to another applications. So as you can see now, it's marked with all applications. I can go to both commercial, industrial. So in that part, you can set up your own system for all individual components applications. So there's a variety of possibilities. You can access to almost everything to specify your own needs. If you like, you can save these settings also under your naming, these preferences here. So in this part, as I told you, you can set up your settings, individual components, applications. So in this, I did some, for instance, setup to connect my preference. This is the one. So then moving to units, there are more units possible than with those three standard unit: SI, International, and American. And if you go to customize here, you can do the same and give multiple names for it. Like here, I did some customize my unit sets. Then moving to the user language, you have a set up this with the first installation already. So however, you can go again into it, and then you can change here afterwards. You can change the naming or given name you want to have on your report. And here you can see the tick box. What does that mean? You can go all product options regardless of the country you are located. All the components are available here. And sometimes untick if you want to have only to specify the locally available components. Then here the style, just an options of the user interface. Another menu called tools. So if you have entered in operating conditions, then you can see here and get the product operating conditions overview and other unit sets. Then products and refrigerants overview. This is quite helpful these days to help yourself and also customers informing about available available components for specific refrigerants. We have here we have here a list of product type grouping, as you see, such control and regulating valves, solenoid valves. So beside this product grouping, some list down of the individual product families listed. Then on top of this, here the metrics that you will see all the different refrigerants we have available in Coolselector, and the components is approved for mark in green, or maybe also allowed to calculate that even though it's not specifically approved, which are the yellow mark here and the gray mark that does not allow to calculate since product not approved. Some other informations on the safety class on here, and the refrigerant type, refrigerant name. This is quite helpful, but due to the amount of information here, it might not be very handy for you. So in this case, you can go through this, allow you to export the whole matrix in Excel sheet. Another another point is the line pressure drop overview. This is not yet filled because we have not done as line calculations. Probably we'll come back to this. Then we have the last one. We call it the log pH diagram. We've been asked for this a couple of customers, and we have added them here now. So in general place, that will allows you to draw a log pH diagram for all available refrigerants that available in Coolselector. So for instance, if I select any of this refrigerant here, let's say 134A, then you get immediately the pH diagram and also the options to move your cursor through and get the lower right corner some information here about the properties. So at position where you rest your cursor, of course, this can be printed out and can be handled somewhere else. Right now, it's not possible to draw manually in some system. This is also under the wish list of it. Maybe it may come in future. So this log pH diagram is also available when you have done a specific calculations. Then normally you will see this system drawn automatically in this diagram. Next menu bar, we call it the help. So some informations here for Coolselector in this documentations, providing you the training compendium. What you can see here is a detailed information dealing the calculations of some certain products, which really guides you how to do the calculations and selections tool like a calculator. So all of you, we recommend you to have a look into it, that one, and it will help you really a lot. Then next one, the Coolselector guide. This is the standard user guide we added from the beginning, and also some informations when you're installing the Coolselector on the server here. A server actually that we learned that there are so many customers, wholesalers out there that they are running their central server installations, Windows Server, for instance. There are people working stations. They want to give them some access through the stations to the central server. Next is the help files. Here we can provide you some details about PDF files, informations about the understanding about the background is onto that. So this is also available here in a row, but also individually if you go into the specific applications. And we have here the YouTube videos also accessible about Coolselector tutorial, and we made some sample calculations and selections of some products. So please visit this, and then you could also use them. So the same as for the webinars of the products, but you're required to sign in and like you did to attend this training. Next, menu tab about the news. News means what had been updated from last update version until new update versions. Then we have here the Coolselector survey updates. Let's see what's updates. Updates. This is handling this. You can do the here by about the updates. So if you don't ask for an automatic update on this machine, your machines, to the company system, you can go in here to sign for email updates. So if you go in there, you can assign and release an email and give us an email address, and you get to this email address automatically information if update is available. Then feedback. Here there's email feedback about the Coolselector. Then last is the information about the cool selector. Now, moving to calculation and selection of the predefined line components. So let's start with the solenoid valves. I told you before, just click on this tab here on the right side of the product images. Then you'll bring you to the system diagram. So in this, I'm going to place the cursor in the liquid line.
Carlo, just before you proceed, maybe I think it's a time for a small poll, just to see if people are. I'm just punching the next poll, and there you go. We have 55% people who have voted so far. The rest, can we have your feedbacks as well, please? Good. We have close to 73% votes, and let's see the result then. So I can see that almost 70%, 77% people are already using it. That's cool. Thank you very much. And then Carlo can continue.
Okay. Coming back to the calculation and selections of solenoid valve again. Like I said, you have to place the valve which line you want to select the solenoid valve. Here, I click this liquid line. And by the way, one information I need you to tell about the system. As you can see, the system right now, it's given here is dry. So it's meant for commercial. Okay, and down this line, you can see the refrigerant type defined as 134A. Of course, you can change that, the refrigerant that you wish to use. And here we have the connections, a different type or a special, I would say, piping systems. But for now, I'm considering all. And here you find a list of possible valves that you're going to use. But in our predefined, I select ABR. There you go. Now, on top here, you can see the operating conditions that it will be used to calculate the specific cooling or rating capacity, evaporation temperature. And here, I think there's some important things to remember, not only in the condensations when you select this line components, but also about the subcooling. value if you really intend to go further for the selection of the components. So let's say, let's keep this at 10 kilowatt, which is the real capacity of the system. So there you go. It's marked going for the ABR6. If you move this one up and down, you will see this marked green. So it's immediately listed one of those components that's already marked. The reason actually behind this is the selection criteria over here. As you can see, the selection criteria over here. That's mean that it's not that Danfoss as you have to use this bulb. So it doesn't mean that you have to go for that. It's just a predefined because of the here it's the velocity. You can see which is most used industrial applications. So concerned about velocity, that they want to make sure that the oil return back to the compressor. So that one you go, it means the liquid line velocity is 1 meter per second. So it really will help you to select this one. Besides, if you think this is certain, will help you to find a bulb which is close to this value. So this preference table, for example, if I go to pressure, click this. So in the same, if you want a pressure drop of 0.1 bar, it might be okay value. Then it will automatically select the solenoid bulb type ABR8. So based on this pressure drop, as you can see. And also, if I want to select this this bulb based on the saturation temperature drop, I just click this, and keeping the same pressure drop value 0.1, and then again the same highlighted bulb ABR8. So let's say I can accept only 0.5 instead of 0.1. So I will change this 0.5. Okay, enter. So it doesn't matter. I want to run this part load on the system because I want 0.5. Then the Coolselector will help you to find the valve that is close to this value. So you can see now the AVR4 will be marked. So this Coolselector is really helps you to avoid problems, issues with the bulb marking them in red here on the above and the bottom. This warning just to tell you it's possible to use that bulbs works unstable or bulb is closed because the pressure drop is far too low with the pressure drop, or probably is simply too high pressure drops. So in that case, maybe you have a flash gas in the system. So in those cases, really Coolselector will give you a warning or an error message that really guided you and safe not to select the bulb that is just not possible to use because of these functions. So within the certain range between these warnings above and below, you can specify which values, which selection criteria above here, which I mentioned about pressure drop, velocity, suction temperature drops, are best one for your individual cases. Then let me bring up this. Now here the performance curve. The y-axis here actually is the one you define here, the pressure drops, the target pressure drop. Let's say here is 0.1 target of this valve. I'm talking about this valve. Select ABR4. It is around 0.087. That is the target pressure drop. So it's in the y-axis, and then corresponds to the cooling capacity at x-axis, which is here, which is 10, because your system capacity is 10 kilowatt and 10 kilowatt here. So it will give you the working optimum point at this green dot here. Next is the performance details. Performance details of the selected solenoid bulb, which is AVR4 with the system details and diagram detail, is also available here. The next tab is to call the code number selection. Of course, here you can select the bulb that you can see here. There are two types because mainly of different connection sizes, which is 1/2 inch and 3/8. So you select the right size that fits your system design. Documents and visual also here are available, like data sheets, catalogs, installations guides, declarations and certifications, CADs, drawings, and photos of the selected solenoid bulb. So next, predefined line components. It's the ball bulb. So what you do basically, just click this button, new, for the selections. Then go to bulb, select the ball bulbs. Stop and shut off bulbs over here. Click again. And here you can see the liquid line again, then GVC. Then here you can see the real capacity of the system has been transferred here from solenoid bulb selections, and you don't need to type in once again. Also, the resulting condensing temperature and selected ambient is calculated as a discharge temperature. So the same principle as the solenoid bulb selections. But this time you notice that there is no warning. Most of the bulbs, that means that you can just specify which values and selections are the best ones. And again, also here you have a direct links to the documents, visuals as available. The same story as before for solenoid bulbs. So last predefined line components. Moving again to the again, click this button, new for selections. Select again the side glasses. So obviously it's the same principle as the previous selections for the solenoid bulb. So let's say SGP, and as well as the ball bulb selections. Okay, so so let's so once all these line components calculation selections done, let's say this is for the whole project selections. Then you might click this report here. And then you may able to create a report in as a default in PDF. Then it could be also exported at different report, as you can see here, Excel, Microsoft Word, and so on. Then here you can put your project name, comments. You can put your name here, created by. And if you wish to control the information that you wanted to create in the report, you can also select all, deselect all as you wish. So let's say select all this time. So once you have done there, then finally you go to the bill of materials. Then you can see all this selected line components here in this format, And as you can see, there's another functions that if you want to check the availability of this one, you just click here, this Danfoss product store. Then you will know that this product is available or not. So that's how it's simple. So that was the last slide today. So Santos,
Yeah,
is
Carlo.
there any questions in the chat box, so we can start answering questions?
So far, I have one question from this question is coming from Mr. Abdulaziz Alamri, and the question is like, how can we make adjustment by using smartphones? This is the
How
question.
they adjust? What you mean adjust? Or maybe we can come back to that questions
Yeah, let me see if
later
Mr.
on. Yeah.
Abdulaziz. Yeah, Mr. Abdulaziz, I am unmuting you, so you can raise the question if you have.
Hi, Carlo. Hi, Mr. Santos and everybody. Thank you so much, Carlo, for this good session. Actually, my question is that you said when we do the AKSM 800, which is the new one, and the other controller for the, let me get that one.
Hello.
Which can be adjust the settings by smartphone by using Bluetooth. Is there such an app to be used, or how can we do that?
We have that in the AKCC 55, like I mentioned, that can be adjusted through your smartphone, but you must connect first by Bluetooth. Okay, and that's what we have today. And for the AKSM 800 touchscreen, we already done some testing on that also. Then we will just confirm by mid of this year. So it's still ongoing. But of course, if you are interested to have training on this, we can arrange that separately. Me and my colleague Santos will send this invitation.
That's what I'm looking for. Actually, we need to know how to do that one. We didn't do it before, and that will be, I think, useful for us.
Sure.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Abdulaziz, and I think we can definitely have a separate call on that to if it is specific that we can support on something.
Sure.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, people.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah. There is a question from Mr. Anand Kapali. The question is, can you select one hot gas bypass valve?
Yes.
So, Carl, maybe you should show one selection of hot gas
Maybe I
bypass valve.
can show the. Wait, I should stop the 1 moment. Coolselector. I have to open my Coolselector. Hot gas. Yes, you can see my screen. You see my screen?
Yes, Carlo, go ahead.
Yeah, good. So hot gas, that's what's the application actually? It's for industrial or commercial? Because here we have hot gas. Here is the hot gas valve. It depends on your system also. So it's also available here. So what you do, you just select the type of hot gas here. Okay. And of course, before you do that, you have to select the system.
Carlo, can you maximize your screen? I
Maximize
think
my
it's
screen.
yeah, and also it is a commercial application basically.
It's for commercial applications. We have some hot gas pipe. One moment, that's critical.
Carlo, I get feedback that people are not able to see your screen.
You can see my screen.
Yeah.
Moment. I think in this case we can send them a separate guideline how to select that gas up. I think it's better to send it separate with the inquiry, and then we will do some selection to it.
It's okay. I think we can try it out, Carlo. I think
otherwise we spend much time here, and the other guys are waiting. Okay. So can you see now the screen?
Yeah.
Good.
We can. I think it's better. You can go ahead and try it out. Try out pressure hot gas pipe as well selection, please.
Because right now we have to select first the it's for industrial. That's why I'm asking. In the commercial, we don't have so far, but we can select the bulb directly to the data sheets at the moment. But for now, we have only for the industrial. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Answer your questions on that, Mr. Name. So any other question on this? How to use the Coolselector?
There is some question on can we discuss regarding cold room sizing as well here?
Cold room size. Okay. So let's go here. Cold room. Select this. And here you have to define the size of the room, the length, but this is in meter units, width, height, and you want to calculate the heat load based on the inner dimension or outer. So in this case, let's say inner. And then here you put the surrounding temperature outside the cold room, then the temperature below floor, and the relative humidity of that room, and if the room has a floor or not. Let's assume this is okay. Then here you have to provide the specific product to be stored. Is it here we have prepared some.
Carlo, I think again your screen is freezed. I don't see anything moving.
Now?
Yeah, I think now it is clear.
Okay. Sorry.
This was not. So please, can you start from first, if you don't mind?
Okay. Here, if you click this cold room, let's start from the beginning. Here, you select this box here on the right side of the cold room. Click here, and here it will prompt up you with some information about the cold rooms, dimensions, length, width, height. If you want to calculate the heat load based on the inner volume or outer volume. So, and also the room temperature surroundings on the cold room, the temperature of the below the floor, the humidity that you decide to have in the room, and what's the if it's the floor is insulated or not. So let's assume this is okay. So click next. Then here is some information about the products, and we have predefined some types of products here. So you can select the products that you wish to store. So right now we can just say mixed products. And then what is your daily turnover in the product per day? Let's say 4,000 kg or 4 tons. And what is the inlet temperature of that product? And then you just, once it's all this okay, you just click this estimate. And you say here the percentage of room used for goods. Let's say the volume, how many volumes of product you're going to use on this. If it's let's say 45%. Why? It's because you need some space also for the air circulations or for the mobility inside the rooms. And the percentage of good change each day, let's say you can put here 20% as you wish. So let's say okay, then move to next. And then from here, you can see again the target temperature of that product. You say 5 degrees Celsius. Relative humidity is 80%. What is the operating hours of the system design? You can put, let's say, 17.3. If you need longer or shorter norm, then you can put here. Then it's the type of panels. Insulation panels is polyurethane. So far we have here. What is the thickness? So you can define here the thickness of panels. So let's say in our case is 100, and then select. Then here you have the results of all the inputs you have done, and another information about also some air exchange infiltrations. Is the door opening, it's open or regular. If you have a specific values about the air change, you can also define it. If not, you just keep that. And here are the heat transfer. Is it a standard panels, custom panels? So you can put all the informations that you have for designing. Then when some additional loads also here for the lights, you have to specify here. For example, if you're using 2 lights, it depends on the wattage, and the fans of the evaporator you can put also here, and how many people are working here every day. So you put here, and other wattage. For example, if you have some other things that generate heat in or added to the heat load, you can put that there also. Is it the evaporator? Is it defrost type? Is natural or electric? So you can define here. And then if you are okay with this, you just click next. Then here you have given you some options. But before that, I need you to understand the select regions. This is a select regions where this unit is going to be used. So in our case, we will put here Middle East. So we want to make sure that unit can call up that conditions in these regions. So here we have options of conditioning unit. We have here the one I discussed before, Optima Plus, Optima Slim Pack, or Optima. So let's keep this one. And then what is the refrigerant type here? Let's say 134A. Then click next. Then here you have list the auto selections of the expansion valve as well. So the cooling capacity is 2.57, dew point, and so on. So if you are okay with that, so other related information that we fill in before, everything are defined here. If you are okay with that, then just simply select again. Wait for a moment, it's doing some calculations. And there you go. It will give you the conditioning unit code number. This code number is very important for us when you request for the quotation, so we can immediately identify the products. And then here, as I told you, from extensions, it will give you a controller also. We call it the AKRC101. So in this one, and then if you focus on the line component selections, it is already defined the solenoid valve, expansion valve, if you have your evaporator with distributor, and what is the size of piping also here. You can go inside here and you can pre-select here. So there's some list of, and then you can also able to see if you are if you know what is the design velocity of, or for example, because you are afraid of the oil is not coming back, or maybe the riser. So in our case, we have in horizontal, we have some condition of 4 meters per second. And if it's a vertical, we have 8, so or 8 meters per second. In total, if you are in that range, so you can also verify here. Okay, also pressure drop and temperature and so on. Any information that is important for your selections and designing, everything are here. Okay, so here it will also tell you if it's this selected solenoid valves are okay or not. If there is a mark result here, green, check, check, check. That means okay. And I think that's it. There's some more information. Wait, some more information here about the piping. Like I told you, this is very, very powerful tools that simplify your selections, not only the components, but when it comes to pipings and everything.
Carlo, maybe I think since now we've given an overview, and I feel maybe this could be another topic of webinar that we could come up with to have a very detailed session as well.
Yeah.
I hope the question so far, at least it answers the basic idea of the question raised. So just to then take the next question.
Normally, we give this a separate sessions, not in this kind of sessions, because our intention is only to give. But anyway, we can just quick run on this one. But if we really need to focus on this one, we can also do that next time for the session.
Yeah. So Carlo, the next question is it possible to find the replacement materials against the discontinued materials? For example, like the PHTX valves.
The pH valve.
I
We
mean,
have
the
some.
question here is
Right now, we don't have that online, but we have something in documents. We can share that. For example, if you have it's a product is obsolete, and it will give you also the cross reference in the as alternative. But we don't have that system right now. We have some of the products like the compressor. We have called the compass. You just type in there the compressor of non-Danfoss, and then it will give you the equivalent of Danfoss. But for that particular products, we don't have. We have only on documents.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe just to continue from Carlo's answer, I think it doesn't give it as a direct replacement one, but you will be able to find the alternative models in that particular platform. So you will find the different platforms that are available. The next question then is for the selection criteria, we find predefined values such as pressure drops, velocity. How do you calculate it, please?
The pressure drop and velocity, basically, this is informations should come from the compressor. Normally, compressor. It depends on your the system that you intend to design. For example, if you use the frequency, the speed compressor, let's say, speed compressors. If you have a low speed, you have a low velocity. But in that case, there is a certain velocity that you need to maintain. So in that also, it will impact the selections of your piping, the selection of the components. But it depends on the type of compressor. If you go for the compressors like the PIX ones, PIX is not is not rich in management the velocity. But we have some recommendation. If you go for optimal conditioning unit, for instance, in our literature is already defined there what are the velocity has to be maintained. Okay, and if you still some question on that, you can drop me mail when you are working on a particular project. Okay.
And the next question is, will the calculation be okay from for room panels made from polystyrene? And does it matter if we are at sea level or high altitudes?
This is actually, this information should be given by the panel manufacturer, but you have to check the, I can answer to that. Also, you have to check the transmission of the thermal conductivity of that one, because it's a matter of heat transfer, because that's also added to, that heat is added to the heat load of your cold room. And so you have to be careful when you design a system, making sure this also this factor also considered in your heat load calculation. So based on the heat load output, then you select the condensing unit. So it's all about heat transmissions in that case. It's a K value of the type of insulation that's going to be used in the cold room. But basically here, if you go to the calculations again, we have predefined some insulation here, so you have to stick on that one. Moment, let me go back to this calculation again in the cold room. So everything is predefined here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Carlo, go ahead.
Yeah, you have to only select whatever is. Right now we have only polyurethane here, so we assume it's polyurethane for this software, nothing else. Okay. I think here, sorry, also same polyurethane only, and the thickness are also defined here. So they're asking about the polystyrene. No, right now in this Coolselector is not yet defined. Okay.
Next
Any
question is, yeah, we have a few more. The question is, for selecting liquid line accessories like expansion valve, solenoid, is liquid line size not required?
For selecting first, I recommend you to select first the, like for example, for expansion valve, select first based on the conditions. Okay, capacities, pressure drops, the types, and then followed by the, always the last followed by the size. Don't always select the product by size. You always respect the condition. When you say conditions, like I said, like the evaporating temperature, condensing temperature, like I show you in the selections earlier. Okay. Any did I answer your questions?
Yeah. The next question is, please can you tell me how we select an expansion valve for a conditioning system like a package unit?
I lost your voice.
It says, please can you tell me how to select an expansion valve for an air conditioning system, like for example a package
Those,
unit? Hello? 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 Hello?
hello?
Hi, Carlo. Hello? Carlo, are you able to hear me? Hello? Carlo, I think we lost your voice. Can you check, please? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Santos.
Yeah.
We lost you. Can you hear me?
No, we lost you actually.
So I think,
Anyways, quick question
sorry.
is, yeah, the question is how to select an expansion valve for an air conditioning system, for example, a package unit.
A package unit.
Basically, a
Package
selection of
unit.
the expansion valve.
It's the same. Okay, I will run here. I will start to run one selection. Just hold on. New selections again. Okay, expansion valve. Okay, here you can see my screen. Let's go to expansion valve. Okay, and yeah, it has to tell me all the inputs here, the conditions. Then I can guide him how to. Can you tell me what is the refrigerant?
I think I feel it's a very generic question, but maybe the answer would be that once you get into this expansion valve, you basically have to fill in all this information that you have in terms of refrigerant connection or your evaporating temperature and things. And if that is anything specific for a selection, then maybe you can write down to Mr. Carlo. We shall share the contact details with you, so and you can get that get it clarified, because I think now it's a very generic one, so it will be difficult to go ahead with the selection. Is that okay?
But I can do some quick selection if he wants. It's no problem. Okay. For example, here, this expansion valve, I'm going to use it for definitely in the liquid line. So refrigerant, let's say 134A connections. Right now, I don't want to define that, and I want to use this expansion valve. Let's say keeping this condition here. So it's for refrigeration. So let's say T2. T2 would be enough. So here. So you want me to explain this cooling capacity of the system, evaporating temperature, and useful superheat. Basically, this is because it's a thermostatic expansion valve, our total opening superheat or peak superheat for expansion valve is 4K, so 5.4. It depends on your useful superheat design, can change here. And condensation here, you can define as temperature. This is something related to your to ambient also. And then here you want to select the expansion valve base 100% and distributor pressure drop also. Let's, for example, if you have a distributor in your evaporator, there is a non-pressure drop here, you can also fill in here. If not, then automatically you will select the type of expansion valve. Again, it's marked with a green. So then you can review here again, what is the nominal capacity of this based on this one, 2.9. So you're giving more capacity than required, and the load it's you utilizing the load of the expansion valve is 79% out of this total load here, and the minimum capacity this much, and the pressure drop across the valve. Again, sorry, drop pressure temperature drop 7.37, and this is the velocity also here. So if you design your system and you're known with the velocity, so you can check this this valve is sufficient for your system components calculations. Okay.
Thanks, Carlo. Just as I said, in case you need a detailed one, then please reach out to Carlo, and then he can help you out to have a more detailed analysis. Next question is: software does not include the selection of Danfoss turbo core compressors. Do you sell here in Middle East these type of compressors?
We today, yes, you are. It's not yet included in the Coolselector, and we have some customers where we supply this turbo core, and it's under testing. But of course, there is a potential also of this turbo core in this market.
Yeah,
according to my knowledge.
Yeah, just to take over that question from Carlo, turbo core as such, it is not a kind of just an off-the-shelf product to replace. So it's basically kind of a prototype that's developed with mainly with the OEMs. So in Middle East, yes, we are working with a couple of OEMs now, which are doing a prototype testing based on their requirements. It is again, as I said, it depends on the complete. It's very customer specific, in terms of capacity and things like that. So and it has a lot of system integration between the customer's softwares and then ours as well. So that's why you don't see a generic selection here, but then in the coming periods it will be updated as well. If you need any specific information about Turbo Cores, of course you can write to us and we'll be more than happy to share you on that updates. Then the next question, Carlo, is like, how can we get a load calculation sheet for cold room selections? I mean, to take printouts, is that possible?
We don't have certain heat load calculations today, but I recommend them to use this, the one we have in the Coolselector, okay, because it will give you the heat load calculation by entering all this, the cold room dimensions, all the loads involved to that. That's so far what we have. So it will give you the heat load calculations. But for only for small size of cold room so far, but for big cold room, I don't know. It depends on the cold room, of the size of the cold room that you want to select the heat load. Okay.
Then I think we are almost there to the end of questions. If there is any further questions, we will send out an email later on the following this session, where you will have the corresponding email IDs where you can send out your queries, whatever you have, to have a more detailed explanation on that. There's one more question has come in that says it's about, can you please elaborate about economizer in industrial applications?
I think we can discuss this separately because most of the participants today, they are not involved in this. We can discuss it separately because we will contact you. We will contact you directly.
Okay. Yeah. Since
because a lot of information needed there for the selections for that particular product.
Okay. As I can only assure you that we have your questions along with your names and email ID. So the ones that you need more information or the ones that has not been answered here, we will take it up separately offline with you, because just to keep the content relevant to all the customers in line. And so yes, definitely we will take your questions separately offline. Anything else related to the Coolselector topic that we took in today? If there is anything, we have another 1 minute to raise your questions. I don't see much.
So if there's no other questions, then
yeah. If
then yeah, we stop here, and then I would like to thank you for all participating in these sessions.
Yeah.
So I hope you.
Carlo, just a second. We have one last question. Where can we find the link to the software?
I can send that. We can send that.
Yeah.
I need your email address. I can provide you the link.
Yeah, even otherwise, you can just on the Google, just type as Danfoss Coolselector and you have the link to download it. So it's a very common application that's available even in Google. Yeah.
Maybe I can show my screen.
Yeah.
One moment. Maybe I can show them a screen. As you said, I will show to them how to find that software. Do you think it's
that's fine,
it's okay?
I think we can send out the link separately on the email.
Okay.
Then that's we come to an end of the session today, and we really appreciate your time and patience. And apologies for some of the inconvenience in the technology part. This is our first experience as well, so we did had some certain disturbances in between. We apologize for that. And as promised, we are taking all your questions, and the ones which are not answered here will be taken offline, and we will come back to you on that. Yeah. Before we exit, there is, as I informed, there will be a survey at the closure. So please do give in your valuable feedback, and looking forward to meet you all again. Talk to you all soon. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you have more questions, know more about something else, please drop me a mail to me and my colleague. Thanks a lot and have a great rest of the day. Take care and stay healthy. Bye.
Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.